Top-down or positive EV bettors use the lines from sportsbooks to figure out what the market thinks the true likelihood of bets winning or losing actually is. It used to be that books would offer both sides of a bet, which we then would devig to estimate what they think, what that no-vig line is. That's why we call it devigging. We take the hold from the books and get to a line and estimate that we think the sports books think truth really is. But with the explosion of bets being offered by all of these sports books out there, and the recent addition of exchanges where individuals can make offers wherever they want, we often find that we have one-sided lines at different sports books or exchanges. And this is where the only offer is from one side of the market. So you don't have this balance. So you may just have an over on hits allowed or over on innings pitched. And a lot of times these are not the main offering, but as they go away from that main offering, they'll only offer the overs or they'll only have one side of the market for whatever reason. So whereas most sports betting analytics software simply ignores these situations, at A-Train Station, we know that there can be some powerful insights in these numbers. Watch the rest of this video to learn what we are doing to help sports bettors find opportunities that nobody else does. Welcome to The Advantage. I'm A-Train Bets, and I use my brain to make bets. And in this video, we're going to talk about one-sided lines. And this is something that has become so much more commonplace as books and exchanges and opportunities to bet in different ways have exploded. And it's great because it gives us as bettors more options to understand and find plays where we think we have an advantage. But the downside is it can be harder to find advantage with these plays because as you move away, especially when in these markets where you're moving away from that center point, a lot of times the information gets more scattered, it gets more scarce, and it can be difficult to understand what the truth is at a line that's off that center point. Well, most software says, oh, we got nothing. We're not going to even do this. A-Train Station, we don't operate that way. We're like, okay, how do we do this? And in this video, we're going to show you how, because we think one-sided lines can be extremely valuable in terms of understanding and assessing markets. And if you're new to sharp sports betting, do check out. We have tons of videos that cover all the ins and outs of sharp sports betting, top-down betting, a bunch of different ways that you can, as a sports bettor, start to use data analytics to help you understand what bets you want to make. The truth is that sports betting really isn't about picks. It's not about, I have a feeling. It's not about one thing. It's about a collection of bets that you make based on your analysis of betting markets. And that's what really matters to sharp sports bettors. You have to analyze a bet market to understand what truth is. And then when you find odds better than what you think truth is, then you can make bets. That's how it works. Too many people approach sports betting without any understanding of the numbers, and they pay for it literally. So at A-Train Station, we're all about the data. I've done data leadership for 25 years, written 2 books about it, did consulting for a number of years, was a chief data officer. I know data and I know systems, and I typically in my career have driven business process improvements that organizations then get better by doing. These business process improvements make their business better, make better profits because they can operate more efficiently or find new markets or whatever it is. But now I'm applying this to sports betting mostly because it's a lot more fun. And the same principles apply. So you're not going to hear a lot of the same stuff on my channel that you're going to hear from others. And I do frequent live streams, check my schedule for those, but there's so much to learn. And I love doing this. So check it out. Anyway, so today's topic, one-sided lines. Let's get after it. And I'm going to show you. So A-Train Station, we have a bunch of videos that show all the ins and outs of A-Train Station. I'm not going to go through it, but I do want to start here. This is what we call the book weightings screen. And what this is where we're saying, hey, what do we think are the sharpest books in the market? If we want to approach a particular kind of betting strategy, this is where we start to configure that. And normally we can set infinite amounts of things in these different books. We have a whole bunch of different books you can use as truth, but some of them you don't want to use as truth. And we have videos that talk about how you evaluate markets with different book weightings and things like that. But in this video, we want to talk specifically about one-sided hold. and one-sided lines, because what you need in a case where there's no balance is you actually need to say, well, on average, what do I think the hold would be if they were offering another side of the market, right? You can make that whatever you want. But what we do with this is basically say, okay, wait, if we have a situation where somebody's offering a line that doesn't have a counterpart, then what do we do? Well, we're just going to imagine what that is. And you're going to see on our detail screen. The detail screen is where you do the depth of analysis at A-Train Station. When you do the deeper analysis, that's where you're going to be able to look at the one-sided line and where the other side of the line would be based on this one-sided hold percent. So if you want to do one-sided lines, you set this one-sided hold percent, and then you can find the plays that you want to have on that one side. It gets a little bit more than that because we've had to adjust the logic, because if somebody goes and offers one line that's a terrible line, you don't want to treat that as truth, especially with exchanges. Exchanges, they're going to be people hanging numbers that are terrible. And so you don't want to use those. But if it's a market competitive and oftentimes a market changing perspective, that's where you want to be using one-sided lines. And we control for that within the station. That's why the station is the most powerful sharp sports betting software in existence. It's because we handle these special cases and we do that extra mile to give you capabilities, controls, flexibility, transparency, all of those things that nobody else can be bothered to do. So we're going to go in here. And I'd run a search. What I'm doing here, my tier 1 are my main books. These are the ones I play at most. And the exchange. And with A-Train Station, you can set a bunch of different kinds of weightings for different strategies or whatever. I use my exchanges because I know I'm going to be more likely to find one-sided lines with my exchange weighting set. That's all. So I found a few plays, and I've got them queued up because I don't want to be sitting here clicking on this video because I'm not big into editing. We're not a big editing, but we do good enough video production. So what you don't get in video production quality, you do get in insights and knowledge about sports betting. So it's a fair trade, right? Good. All right, so let's look at this first one. This is a Corbin Burns hits allowed. The recommended wager is on the over 4.5. You can see this, and you can see that we would be basing this. Again, I'm in just exchanges as sharp right now in this strategy. You can see it up here. And I have a line from Profit X that is not aligned with the market at all, but it's way more generous on the hits allowed under, right? So what we're saying is somebody's saying, okay, well, at Profit X, I'm willing to accept a hits allowed under 4.5 for $300, which is not a lot, but not nothing either. It's not $20, right? So on this one, they're saying, hey, I'm daring you. I'd love you to do this, Bled. Well, what are we going to interpret that? Then they like this side, right? So if we're treating it as sharp, we're saying, hey, the person offering this really is willing to put something down off the market to just get the liquidity and get filled at a price that's not market competitive. We take notice of that because, quite frankly, most people using exchanges today have to know a little bit more than some donkey doing same game parlays at FanDuel, right? It's just the nature of the thing. So we put a little bit of stock into it, right? Well, in this case, you look at it and like, oh, yeah, Corbin Burns hits allowed over 4.5. He's kind of mixed on it stats-wise. He's got, you can look at the whole market in A-Train Station too, but this surfaced the play, and the decision point here is very simple. Do you believe some rando at Profit X has a read on this market that the market hasn't adjusted to yet? Or do you believe that the market knows what they're talking about? That's your decision. That's it. That's the whole decision on this page. And if you believe in the Profit X number, I'm not in this case, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. I'm just saying here from a functionality perspective, you can say, well, hey, I surfaced this play that would never have shown up anywhere else. And if you buy into this, you can make that play. And it's really cool too. I'm going to highlight this. You see here, this 300, that's how I know exactly what's being offered at Profit X. That is the thing that tells me, hey, there's $300 of liquidity at that best price. Now, there could be other things. We're going to be bringing out some market making functionality, some other things with exchanges that show me more of the depth of the market. But right now, you can at least see, hey, this offer I can do for, 300. And what's cool about this, too, is that if you'd say, hey, this idiot at Profit X doesn't know anything. They just hung a bad number. This market has moved. See, the way I'd potentially interpret this, I'd say, hey, this market has moved. And maybe this person just left a bad line. But then I would look at Devig and say, hey, Devig's got pretty sharp people over there too. See where they've moved? They've moved and kind of consolidated because they have both sides of the market. They're down to 2.18% synthetic hold here. Boy, that gives me a little bit more confidence that Profit X might be onto something here, right? That might be enough. That might be enough. If I'm doing top-down betting, this Corbin Burns hits allowed over 4.5 based on what I'm seeing from the exchanges might be enough to get me to make that play. Right. Most of my baseball betting today is done with a bottom-up model in tandem with the top-down of the station. You know, stay tuned for a new video on our custom line upload. But for now, if you're doing top-down betting and you're not using the station, you just can't see anything. You know, you're just putting blinders on your face. You're just going, I can't see nothing. That's the difference between what we do and what anybody else does. I mean, the depth of analysis here is just unmatched. All right. So that's that one. Hopefully that makes sense. Do note that when you see a one-sided line, I knew this was a one-sided line because this black other side of the market, we drew in, and that's why it's black. And that's why you can see here the 5%. You can see there's a thing at Bet Openly as well. There's a thing here that says, so it's 5%. It's just a reminder of what you have your one-sided line hold percentage at. So that'll be in gray. So the little things, these little nudges that we do at A-Trade Station that just are so powerful to a bettor who needs to make some plays, right? So this is how we break down this market. Okay, let's look at the next one. This next one is a situation where we have two exchanges, both offering one-sided lines, both having a small to medium amount of liquidity on that side with the rest of the market out there. What we've seen from the exchanges is that a lot of times they are the market leaders. You're going to see things start to happen in exchanges before the books kind of lumber their way to it. And I think part of this is because individual bettors are often working from models, they're working from other news, they're going out and hammering that really fast. And the fact is that they're willing to do that because they can get down there versus they're going to be stuck at, Onyx odds. Good luck trying to bet $500 there, right? It's just not it's not a good use of their time. They'd rather just hang the number and move forward. So that's what they do. And what we've seen too much, and here's a big problem with the traditional sports books that exist out there, is that they're so focused on reacting that all they do is react. They don't set lines anymore. Half of these books don't set lines at all. You do see Circa sets lines, but then they react. They start with a number and then they react to the market. Well, the closer you are to game time, the more all of that's just market reaction. As news happens, they still have to react to it too. So sometimes the exchanges are those canaries in the coal mine that are going to tell you, hey, this is about to move. That's a great way as a top-down bettor. If you're using this kind of software as a top-down bettor, you can see things happening before the rest of the world sees them. This is why we build in the line movements, why we build in all of this stuff at this point of decision where you can analyze the market so quickly and then adjust to it, right? So this is another one which just beautiful. This double, when I see two things, I'm always looking for at least 2 points of view to push me in the right direction. This one, love it, because you see evidence of both sides of this in both places. Now it could just be the same dude hanging lines at both places. It's true, but I love the line movement here. You see where they started. It's just, this is a situation where if you're a top-down bettor, going strikeouts over for Chris Sale might be a good read if you trust those exchanges. Again, it's all about the market analysis. All right, finally, let's look at this one. This one is not a one-sided line, but it was worth noting because I want to show you something that is important to note. This is a two-sided line, but it is a situation where one side has a very small liquidity amount, almost none, and this side has 2,500. So somebody really wants you to take this outs recorded over, right? Because they're offering real liquidity there. And in this case, I would be looking towards this. It's not a one-sided line, but you can see there is a one-sided line down here at Devig, which, because we have a two-sided line up here, that's getting the full treatment. But this 5% at Devig would have been pushing us in the same direction. It's just we're not going to use that when we have the two-sided lines that are so compelling. And really, this is the side that you would have to be pretty convinced about to see this minus 130 being good. This is why this is the situation where we would actually ignore this particular number, because this is the more attractive number. The other side would be worse. And so that's why this minus 130 would be better, but they're not offering that side of the line. So you've got to be crossed the other way. All right. So in that scenario, this may be something worth playing at, but it's important to note, just while we're on the topic of exchanges, this is kind of a bonus. You want to be thoughtful about the amount of liquidity on either side. Because this liquidity is so high, even though I would often ignore this one-sided line, the fact that there is another side to it and the fact that there's some decent liquidity behind this gives me some confidence that maybe the line's here, but maybe this BetUS play is a pretty good play to make, right? Again, there's other plays. If you have DraftKings, well, all of a sudden you're like, hey, there's an arbitrage opportunity here, and there's something going down here. Look at this DraftKings pick 6 mults. If you can put that into action, this might be a really good pick for that. That's why we can look at this and say, okay, so a lot of interesting things that the station does that will help you understand what plays you want to make. And that's really the point, is that we're always adding these features to find ways to help you identify markets that are interesting. And then when you get into them, sometimes you say, oh, this is interesting. I'm going to bet the other side of this because of this, this, and this. And it's understanding that story, that full picture, that the picture of the market is trying to tell you. That's what helps you become the sharpest bettor you can be. The days of the simple plus EV, top-down, Devig against Pinnacle nonsense, those are coming to an end. Some say they have already ended. And especially in the world of heavy player props and a wide array of sports betting opportunities and the bets being offered, you have to find new, deeper, faster, smarter strategies to be a bettor yourself. If you want to have a chance in your sports betting, you really need a tool like A-Train Station. And that's the core of this video today, is to just give you that insight into one-sided lines. A lot more videos to come, a lot of videos out there. So check it all out. And don't forget, we have a free demo. If you go to atrainstation.com, free demo in the upper right-hand corner, you can click that button, check it out, and explore the software, see everything it has, and then watch some of the videos. There's videos built into the pages, and there's a whole bunch of stuff on the YouTube channel. So check it out, understand, and even if you're not going to become an A-Train Station member, at least understand what you're trying to do as a sharp sports bettor. And that's really the purpose of this channel more than anything, is to help you understand, here's what you should be doing. Here's how we do it over at the station, but here's the important knowledge you need to have as a sharp sports bettor in the mid 2020s. And yes, I'm old now. So with that, for now, this train's leaving the station. Until next time, save the units for the bros and do your betting like the pros. Thanks for watching.